Yo, what is going on guys? Cam's TV here, bringing you another patch notes overview for TFT patch 10.1. For those of you who don't know, we're getting 2 new champions, a new synergy, and a bunch of new items slash reworked items that will definitely change up the meta. As you can see from the background footage here, we've been on PBE testing out the new synergies and items live over on twitch.tv/camstv. Link will be in the description down below. Now without further ado, let's get right into the patch notes. A new synergy makes its way onto the scene called Lunar. What it does is it gives your team 15% crit chance and crit damage, and 10% spell power that can stack up to 4 times, making your whole team a powerhouse the longer the fight goes on. Leona stages a comeback in set 2, this time as a Lunar Warden. Her ult is that she becomes a human tank, reducing all damage by 40, 90, 140 for 5 seconds per level respectively. She is a 1-cost unit, and she's a decent frontline unit to soak up damage and take the brunt of the attack. Pair her with any of her Warden friends and watch her hold down the fort. Karma makes an appearance in this set as well, being a Lunar and Mystic. She's a 3-cost, and her ult sends out a tether to her closest ally, shielding them for 5 seconds and giving them an insane attack speed bonus. Trying to position your team to have the unit you want take advantage of the tether was tedious at first, but once you find the right positioning, she takes your team up a notch. I played around with the Lunar synergy on PBE, and my first impression is that Lunar is straight up broken with the right comps, but super fun. I have to say that I'm a fan of this, and we're in for a treat this patch. Now on to the items. Repeating Crossbow, Phantom Dancer, and Thornmail have all been taken out of TFT, and in their place, we now have Last Whisper, Titan's Resolve, and Bramble's Vest. Last Whisper shreds the target's armor by 90% for 3 seconds every time you crit a champ. This is basically Desert buff on steroids, and I can see this being great on Assassins or paired with IE. It's made with glove and bow and actually seems pretty decent in playtesting. Hopefully now you won't feel doomed when those are the last 2 items left on your bench. Titan's Resolve replaces Phantom Dancer. Critting or getting crit gives you a 2% damage bonus for up to 100% damage bonus. At max stacks, you gain 25 armor and magic resist, and it increases in size as time goes on. I haven't been able to playtest this item much, but it sounds like a great Zed item, making him tankier and giving him more damage as the fight goes on. Bramble Vests is the 3rd new item, and it's basically Thornmail combined with PD. This item negates crit damage, and when you're hit with a basic attack, you also deal AoE magic damage depending on your level, but only once every 2 seconds. That sounds like electric buff with PD, and I look forward to test this out on live. Now onto the items we all know and love. Frozen Heart gets a buff, now slowing enemies by 40%, and stacking this item increases the radius of the slow. Iceborne Gauntlet gets a whole rework. After you cast a spell, your next basic attack will freeze the enemy for 1.5 seconds. This might be a really good Kindred item. Quicksilver also gets a mega buff, making this item now grants you complete immunity to all crowd control. Nami Wave coming your way? No problem, we got Quicksilver. Ionic Spark and Static Shiv both get a buff as well. They now scale with star level. Ionic also does magic damage based on double their mana, so it's a great counter to mage and ocean comps. Locket and Ludens get the star level treatment as well, seeming more like a nerf for Locket, but a buff to Ludens. Hush receives a well needed nerf, going from 25% proc chance to 20%, while Red Buff and Morellos get a similar treatment, their damage going down from 20% max HP to 18% max HP. A lot of item changes came along, and no doubt we will see a shift in the meta because of this. That's it for items now. I'm going to skim over the champs and synergy changes. Druids get a 5 HP regen increase. Doesn't seem too drastic, but it doesn't really change much with them. Lights and Shadows get a nice buff, making them a more viable comp, while Ocean loses 5 mana per 4 seconds, which could be significant, but overall it doesn't seem too bad. Vayne gets more HP and damage to her passive at all ranks, and Warwick gets his mana reduced and spell damage increased, making him a little less useless. Jax gets a nice little bump in HP and AD, while Nico gets her spell mana reduced. Malzahar gets a nice AD buff to his minions. Decent buffs all around for them. Next up are buffs to Senna, Skarner, Syndra, Varus, and Aatrox. The biggest takeaway here being that Aatrox might be back to his glory days from the old set 1. Azir gets a damage buff, while it looks like Blender gets a Omega nerf. Nocturne is the target for nerfs once again, and Kiana gets her stun duration reduced, as well as Sivir's alteration knocked down a peg. Big ouch. Annie gets a small nerf at level 1, but an okay buff at level 2 to Tibbers. And now lastly, Twitch gets an AD buff to his ult, but I'm not sure that changes much. Amumu gets a well-deserved nerf to his damage and stun duration at level 1, but now requires more mana to go off a second time. Master Yi sees a damage increase to his spell, which to be honest was very needed as he was one of the worst legendary units out of all of them. Lastly, Nami gets a damage nerf to her ult, but frankly, the global CC is just too good. I'm not sure this changes much or brings her out of meta. And there you have it folks, this is what TFT patch 10.1 has in store for us. Definitely a meta changer and a nice change of pace. What are you looking forward to seeing in this patch? Leave your thoughts in a comment below and don't forget to leave a like as it really does help the channel out. Don't forget to catch me live over on twitch.tv/camstv_ or click the link in the description below. For all your TFT insider info, wants, and needs, this is CamsTV signing off. Adios amigos.